Our goal is to take great people, train them well, give them the tools, and let them do their job. And secondarily, we treat them as family. These people are part of the Drucker and Falk family.
That's David Falk Jr., a managing director with Drucker and Falk, a third-generation family-owned firm specializing in multifamily fee management, investment and development services, commercial brokerage, and commercial property management services. They were one of the first organizations to earn the Accredited Management Organization designation from the Institute of Real Estate Management. David has a deep understanding of development, designing, planning, financing, and stabilizing new apartment communities. Now, as a managing director of Drucker and Falk, his main focus is on due diligence, finance, equity partnerships, development, syndication, and brokering multifamily investments. And today, we share time not only with David, but Wendy Drucker, a managing director with Drucker and Falk, who is a certified property manager through the Institute of Real Estate Management and focuses on new business development, multifamily management, the supervision of new construction and lease-ups, and the apartment community renovations that Drucker and Falk manages. And sitting to her left is Alex Wong, Director of Technology with Drucker and Falk, who shares the human element of technology and the adoption with new initiatives with people.
You're listening to the Multifamily Leadership Podcast with Patrick Antrim, your source for success strategies for multifamily professionals, CEOs, executive leaders, and aspiring leaders that want to drive high-performance results for their property or portfolio.
This is Patrick Antrim, founder and CEO of Multifamily Leadership and producer of the Multifamily Leadership Summit, where we celebrate the best places to work multifamily. Welcome to the Multifamily Leadership Podcast, where I speak with executive leaders, authors, and business leaders on the topics that advance leadership in multifamily. It is our goal to give you insights into what top leaders are doing to drive financial results and great resident experiences for their portfolios. Now, if you want to get access to other resources such as videos, articles, show notes, other episodes of this podcast, and information on working with me or having me keynote your next event, you can visit multifamilyleadership.com. Okay, before we jump right into the discussion, I want to take this opportunity to give a shout out to our show sponsor. So today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/multifamily. All right, it's great to have you guys here with us today. I'm joined here with Wendy Drucker, David Falk Jr., and Alex Wong, and we're excited to talk about the brand and what Drucker and Falk is doing to win in multifamily. David, what's exciting about multifamily today with Drucker and Falk?
I think our history has taught us so much, and I think that that's one of the reasons that we excel at what we do. We take the information that we've gained over the last 80 years, and we're developing it into a modern day management theories. We're in a difficult position being a true third party company. We have found, I think, the perfect balance between the residents' needs and the ownership needs on preserving and creating value at the property level.
Gosh, David, it seems to me that it's quite competitive in that third-party market. You guys have a unique position in that you've been multi-generational. You have this family atmosphere and this family culture about how you operate. And of course, as an asset manager or an investor owner, that's what you're looking for. Those companies that are learning how to figure out the internal strategies of the business, how to generate more yield for their investors, but also create a great resident experience for those that are looking to rent and move into the multifamily property. So tell me, what's unique about the way you guys operate? Is it the history, lessons learned over the years?
I think it's a combination of those two, but I think we focus on our employees a lot. We have an enormous depth of knowledge. I think our employees, it's common to find people that have been there for 20, 30, 40 plus years. Our goal is to take great people, train them well, give them the tools, and let them do their job. And secondarily, we treat them as family. These people are part of the Drucker and Falk family. I've known many of them my entire life. And you see what they're like, you learn what their ethics, their work, what they are like at work, what they are like away from work. We're about our people. We had somebody die recently who'd been with us for 42 years, and he was a wonderful man. And I think this really shows what I'm talking about. He'd been with Drucker and Falk for 42 years, and he had passed retirement age a while ago. And his daughter got up, and what was so moving to me was she said she had thought long ago to ask her father to retire so that he could spend more time with his grandkids and with her. And she said she just couldn't bring herself to do it because it would take him away from his Drucker and Falk family. And that was incredibly moving. And I think that goes to the core of what Drucker and Falk is about.
Wow, that's so nice to hear. I mean, it's challenging with all the activities today and the advancement of technology and all the things we're adopting, and to be able to keep at the core those values, that's impressive. And I mean, you guys have over $1 billion in brokerage transactions, north of 30,000 units, 1,000 employees across multiple states. And I know I'm going to get in with Wendy. We're going to talk a little bit more specifically about what's happening internally. But tell me about these transactions in the due diligence. You're acquiring portfolios or properties in behalf of some affluent investors and investment groups. The due diligence process, how important is people in that process, and why is Drucker and Falk unique there?
I would say that the skill sets that we have gained from management and from creating capital budgets, from our inspection process, all of that has translated very well to our due diligence. So, when we are able to, on behalf of one of our clients, get a property under letter of intent, we have a checklist. And we also use a lot of technology as well. We go through each and every unit. We have a drone that flies the roofs. Where we need, we hire third-party engineers. But I think that our ability and our eye on the property and our eye to fixing problems opposed to just patching a problem translates well, both on that third-party due diligence reports that we make for our clients, but also when it comes to selling that property, we know what's happening. And then as it relates to the market conditions, we have experts in each of the markets that we serve. They understand the markets, the sub-markets, the properties in general. We typically will manage properties that the communities that we're looking at compete against. So we have people that will come in and do a complete lease audit. We do the criminal reports, the zoning reports, so that when we collate all of this information into one report, we have a complete picture of the asset and what the risk might be.
That's wonderful. Wendy's been building the business, acquiring more probably investors and management accounts, and we can listen to that later. But what does it feel like to see the company grow and to have your own employees share stories like you just shared about the gentleman that passed away? And what does it feel like to also produce success for your investors transactionally, but also be able to do it with impact?
It is my greatest business happiness is to see the Drucker and Falk name continue, to see our employees shine and grow, to see the successes that we gain at a property level. Kelly Falk, Wendy Drucker, and I all grew up in the business. We all worked basically every job in the company. We were raised with the ethics that our grandparents and fathers showed us. And I think when we see, whether it's one of our employees having a grandbaby, or one of our properties sold off because we did such a great job to create value, it presents an enormous amount of pride in all three of us.
So what was that like? I mean, is that like a Founders Day apprenticeship program? I mean, working all aspects of the business? And I mean, do you recommend other management operators do the same? I mean, incorporate that where the
Absolutely.
Key leaders get involved?
Without the knowledge, I think without the total knowledge of what the company does, I don't think the three of us could be leaders and be successful without that knowledge. I can speak personally, I was trained by both Erwin Drucker and John Munich, who was our COO, or I think back then we called him our president, out of our Virginia office. And I know Wendy came to our North Carolina office and was trained by David Falk Sr. And to gain the expertise and mentorship from the opposite family member, it gave me a lot of benefit. My father was an innovator, and Erwin Drucker was the detailed man, and to have both sides of that ingrained in me from the experiences that I got from both of them, I think helps me know what kind of leader I want to be.
That's good. That can be appreciated. And do you find that this story, this authentic, foundational story, is beneficial to new hires coming in? Is it part of how you're able to position not only respect in the community, but also potential of what someone can do with their career? I mean, seeing what you guys have done with a company that, from what I understood, started with $100 and yeah, it's gone from there.
I do. I think that when you're trying to attract the best people to come work for your organization, and they can see that their employer knows what they're doing, that they've worked each job, that they can help mentor them upon each step of the ladder, to ascend to a leadership role themselves, I think they appreciate it. Kelly, Wendy, and myself, we're not afraid to get our hands dirty. We're not afraid to be on the front line. We're happy to hold our employees' hands each step that they need. And I think that translates well to them, opposed to some ivory tower employer who doesn't seem to be as accomplished or as sincere as I think the three of us are.
Yeah, and it seems to me people are looking for organizations that are doing more than just transactions and the numbers. I mean, I agree. Yeah.
At some point the market will turn. It won't be quite as frothy on the acquisition side, and you're going to be left with management. You're going to be left with the day-to-day blocking and tackling of property management, and that's where we really excel. And people want to see that. They want to know that they've come into an industry that can survive, that is going to be there long term, and everybody will always need a place to live. The technology on how to manage that might be different, but the fact that we will always need somebody to be there to help manage the asset, to help with the residents, it's a long-term career that so many of the flash in the pan potential careers that kids can choose today might not exist in 20 years.
Yeah, that's right. And there was companies that have come and gone that were dependent on transactional income or cap rate compression to create value for their owners and investors. How have you guys, through all of the tough times that we've experienced in the cycles of our marketplace and our real estate markets and cycles, how have you guys?
I think since 1938, we've gone through 14 economic cycles. And I would say that our clients, almost all of them are very patient, and they understand that if you do the correct due diligence on a property and your management is where it ought to be, over time you will make money. And if you can, if you have the wherewithal to hold on to the property, manage it correctly, you'll come out of that trough of the economic cycle to the peak, to where you've shown that you have the value. And I think that's what's different than most every other industry, that through good management, good purchasing, and great due diligence, you will have something to be able to sell and create value even through the economic cycles.
That's good stuff right there. So David, let me ask you a question. With all of this success, and how do you maintain it without getting overextended? And is it go back to those founding principles?
Absolutely. I learned an enormous amount about risk and risk management from my grandfather, and also Erwin Drucker. The two of them specifically had a great theory of how you balance that risk. So we make sure that on the acquisition side, the debt level's not too high, that the debt coverage ratio is good, that for instance, when you purchase a property and you're going to do a lot of CapEx on the property, that you fund it up front, that you set the expectation of the investors in the right way. All of those go to the survivability and the potential, and the potential of a downturning market. You know, you have to have the wherewithal and the management skills to manage through it. And I think we do an excellent job, and I've gotten an enormous amount of theory, both from Emanuel Falk and Erwin Drucker on that specifically.
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's great to hear. I mean, there's people tuning in, listening, wanting to know how to get to the next level, how to sort of operate at best in quality and best in the business. And it's nice to be able to share the time with you. So, David, what does a typical day look like for you? Are you running from meeting to meeting? Are you conference calls? I'd like to take you inside.
A lot of time on the phone, and also a lot of time analyzing each deal. We track, 200 properties every week. And we move them up and down in priority based on our clients' needs. Some clients that we have are looking for more of core assets. Some of our clients are looking more for value add properties. We've done a lot of value add over the last, say, 7 or 8 years. We've become experts in value add organically. When you manage 30,000 units and you need to do a renovation program on those properties every, say, 7 to 10 years, depending on the property, you gain a lot of knowledge on how you do that. So when we come to a property and it needs $5,000, $10,000, $15,000 per unit in renovations, we know exactly how to do that. We know how to keep the residents in the units as best as possible. We know how to do them on turns as best as possible. And we can manage through the renovation process well, just because of the experience that we have managing our 30,000 units. So my day-to-day is really analytical. I try to go out and see as many properties as I can on a monthly basis. And we have a team of 4 that are part of the acquisition team. Eric Scow, who is both our analyst and guides our efforts on the property level. He must see 5 properties a week, and he's on the road a lot. But we are continually tuning our process to provide our investors the best possible outcomes.
That's great. Now, I'm going to lead into Wendy. Wendy, I had the opportunity to share some time with at the Multifamily Leadership Summit, we toured some properties together. And, when you go to those properties, David, when you drop a leader on a property and they start, bringing out the value opportunities and finding money and things like that, just in visiting a community, it's impressive to see when you have the right ears, the right eyes on a property. And so, Wendy, you're executing the day-to-day on most of these projects, or tell me a little bit about how you're working on a day-to-day basis.
Primarily, I'm focused on two areas within the firm. The first one is new business development and client relations. And of course, that's bringing in new business, but also keeping connected with our current client base. And the second is working with properties that may not be meeting pro forma expectations or client expectations, or may be struggling because of an overbuilt market or some specific issue that's going on with the community. So those are my two primary areas of focus. And so as a result, I do travel. I'm on site a lot. I like being out on the communities, and I like being with the clients.
That's great, and it's nice to hear the team and the cross training and being involved in all aspects of the business. What do you think, Wendy, it makes a great employee? I mean, when you're hiring somebody or you're looking for that next leader, and you've got maybe that property that needs a little bit more hands-on attention, what do you look for when you're building a team?
This is an interesting business in that no one, when they're 8 or 9 years old, tells their parents that they want to be a property manager when they grow up. Yeah. And really, unless you go to one of the universities that has a property management program, you don't graduate college and decide you want to be a property manager. It's something that people tend to fall into. And I have found that our employees that really excel have two key characteristics. And one, I think you can teach, and the other, I don't. I think it's intrinsic. And our key employees, the ones that really excel, have true empathy. They understand the struggles that are involved with moving. It might not be a positive, pleasant move. It might be because a family is struggling. They understand that life issues get in the way. They understand that life happens, I guess, for lack of a better term. So they have empathy. But the other thing our wonderful employees have is that they care. And I really don't think you can teach people to care. I think it's something that people are born with, or that it's nurtured when they're young. But those are two real traits that I see with our employees that go above and beyond every single day, day in and day out, 365 days a year, in snow, in rain, floods, fires, whatever it may be that you encounter as a property manager, missing birthday dinners, family get-togethers, because the property and the residents are number one in their life. And it's finding those kind of people that make Drucker and Falk successful. That's
great. And we're going to hear from Alex on how a lot of those teams enter the workforce and even enter the Drucker and Falk family. But let me ask you a question on this process. So you just recently ranked nationally as one of the best places to work in multifamily. So congratulations on that. That is an intensive program, and certainly an honor to have the Drucker and Falk community involved. And so tell me what that process was like for you. Did you find it celebratory, but also was it educational? What did you learn from that process, I guess?
I would say that it is all of the above. We learned from the survey, first of all, to have a means to have an independent survey of your employees when you are in 9 states and have almost 1,000 employees is invaluable. And so going through the process of getting the surveys to our employees, the ones that have email addresses and the ones that don't, was a puzzle that Alex helped us figure out. But the information that we garnered from the survey has led us to a path that we've been going through since we got back from the award ceremony. The first thing we did is we created a committee we were ranked 8th. So our committee is from 8 to great. And it is our directors of our multifamily regions, David, Alex, and I, plus our marketing team. And so our From 8 to Great group, we've met several times and have taken on various responsibilities as a result of things that we learned from the survey. So one of the things that we learned, first of all, we learned that our employees really are engaged. And we learned that they really have an emotional attachment to Drucker and Falk. They're emotionally attached to their job. They're emotionally attached to their teams. They're emotionally attached to the company. And because of that, they really enjoy what they do and they feel valued for doing it. And this attachment, this employee engagement is really critical to Drucker and Falk and to our ability to be able to attract key people in all aspects of our business. Now, we did learn from the survey, however, that our employees, even with this emotional attachment and emotional engagement and employee engagement, that employee recognition is very important. And on the site level side, we have a gathering in our southeastern region as well as our mid-Atlantic region once a year for all employees. And it's a fun event, but we recognize tenure and we recognize outstanding achievements with maintenance inspection and shopping reports and employee audits. But we learned that we need to do more than that. And so as a result, our From 8 to Great committee has started a few new things. We have a quarterly newsletter going out from our president, Jim Ledbetter, highlighting how the company's doing. Our employees notified us they wanted to know how the company's doing. And that first one went out, and the second one will go out in July that will rate sort of how we're doing against our budgets and how we're growing and where we're growing, and to sort of forecast how we will do for the remainder of the year. We also have started a newsletter that will highlight as a company, not regionally, but as a company, new business that we've brought in and do a blurb about that community and the employees, about promotions, awards that our employees have received, whether it be within Drucker and Falk or within industry organizations that we're involved with. Any designations, HVAC certifications or CAM or CPM, any sort of designations that we're really going to communicate on a much more frequent level to the whole company to tell everyone the successes that our employees are achieving. We are looking at, and I wish I could show you this, but I can't, looking at creating a Drucker and Falk gold coin. I don't know if you've been to city events where they give you a city seal on a gold coin, but a Drucker and Falk gold coin that we could give out to all new employees when we assume management of a property, welcoming them to the company, that we could give out to employees for outstanding performance. And these coins can sit on the desk of the leasing people or the manager, and they could spark conversation for prospects and residents coming in. And it would be part of our story. But they also maybe could be turned in for a day off or for lunch for the staff. We haven't worked through all of it. It's just an idea that has been percolating among our From 8 to Great committee. Finally, while the company has been very involved with giving back to the communities in which we serve, we feel like it's important to have a few that we do that are company-wide, and one of which maybe even would involve the residents. So in that, we're looking at maybe it's school supplies, or to do a food drive not during the holidays that perhaps not only all of our communities and all of our employees could get involved with, but all of our residents could get involved with as well. We also were looking at giving every employee on site a day off a year that they can volunteer anywhere. It could be their children's school. It could be a nonprofit organization that they're passionate about. And then we are going to, as a company, select a charity event that as a company we could support. It could be Habitat for Humanity. There's so many out there that we could support. So the lessons that we learned from the survey are really taking us, I think, in great directions in enhancing our employee engagement and enhancing the employee's emotional attachment to their job and to the company.
That's great to hear. And, you know, asset managers, investors are really beginning to evaluate the depth of these organizations when they put them into play. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in action, and, you know, knowing that a company does what it needs to do internally to operate with great corporate social responsibility before we even talk about internally. I mean, you're also reaching communities. And I think investors are, you know, learning the return on that investment, that when we get things right internally, there's benefits to the residents. And when the residents are engaged and happy and renewing and paying, you know, top dollar for their properties, and there's financial yields and rewards to those that are investing in these communities. So it's great to hear this type of effort. And what is the social responsibility? I know you guys have done some things with even the Relay for Life and United Way and some other great organizations, but has that played into just a deeper impact of, you know, companies that are, or, you know, organizations that are doing bigger and better things than their own business?
I mean, I think it's absolutely, and I think you see it in organizations all over the world that understand that they need to give back. And it's not just the organizations like Google or Microsoft or the sort of hit, you know, current wonders of the world, but it's organizations that have been around for 80 years like Drucker and Falk that have always given back. We understand that it is totally our responsibility to give back to the communities in which we serve. Our employees understand that, and we promote it with, instead of doing holiday gifts, where we give money to homeless shelters in each of the communities in which we serve. So rather than sending our clients gifts that may sit on a shelf, we will spend those dollars in other ways to give back. And I think that the younger generation is very connected with social responsibility. I think they learn about it as early as elementary school, and it carries through to their college experience. Having two 20-year-olds in college, I hear every day the various social programs that they're involved with, from either volunteering at a Boys and Girls Club to going and cleaning up the waterways of the James River, to tutoring at a Title I school. So I think it's become so much of our culture now that I think companies that don't embrace this are really missing out. I think it's also a way that we can attract people to work with us, because I think it's not just about us. It's not just about the Druckers and the Falks, but it's about other people.
That's great. I love that. I love that. Shifting gears, I should say, here, Alex. Let's bring Alex into the conversation a little bit. We'll get a little tactical on how we're executing some of these initiatives. So, Alex, welcome into the conversation. And I just want to ask you, the onboarding experience has working through some of these actionable findings that Wendy discusses in the Best Places to Work multifamily program and research. Has that impacted your ability to do anything new and exciting with onboarding?
Hi, Patrick. It truly has. I think when we heard of the opportunity to participate in the survey last year, we were very excited and we jumped right into it. And in essence, as a fairly new employee during that time, you know, what it gave me was a very unbiased and honest check on how this company truly is doing, from an employee's perspective, what people is thinking, what people are saying about the company. And to be honest, we've gotten great feedback, very positive, a lot of them. And even the ones that we kind of held to ourselves as areas for improvement are not necessarily critical either. It's just more of a, we wish we could, hear more about the company, for example, which obviously spun off into the newsletters and the quarterly emails from Jim Ledbetter. Now, from an onboarding perspective, I think that's, obviously, tied into, how we're going to continue to grow and continue to attract new talent to our organization. And we have a great company, we have great owners, we have a great base of employees. Now, what we want to develop, and we've been developing very diligently, is a great delivery and help to kind of begin this experience for new hires walking into the Drucker Falk family. I mean, you could have the best product in the world to sell, but if you deliver it poorly, it can be the worst product in the world for all intents and purposes. And what we try to do here at this organization is, people that we hire, that we've diligently sourced and interviewed and identified as future star players in our company, we want to make sure that they get the white glove treatment when they come in, from an onboarding perspective that sets them on a true trajectory for success.
That's really great. It's nice to hear organizations respond in this way. I mean, as the employee, as a customer, when new residents move in, we oftentimes spend a lot of money to try and acquire the customer, the resident, marketing, advertising, from brochures to the amenities at the property, all of this experience coming in. And then, if the move-in day doesn't go well, that can set a tone and a stage. And it's nice to hear that you're taking those similar approaches to have that experience go beyond, the offer, and create some real opportunities for not only your organization but the person that's coming in. That's great to hear. Great job with that. So, Alex, those of you that are listening in don't fully understand your role. Tell us a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis and how you impact the Drucker and Falk family.
Sure. Yep. I am the director of technology for Drucker and Falk. Have been here for just about a year, actually. May last year I joined, so might be my anniversary day today for all I know. But my day-to-day obviously, evolves around technology, but it's not all, ones and zeros and geeky, down in the trenches, because I think part of the bigger part of my responsibility is not just the technology, but also, the elements that interact with technology. And obviously the biggest element is the human element, right? And we are in the human business. So I think, a lot of times it's not just about policy and security, but from my perspective, it's true adoption, because, Drucker and Falk has made, so much investment in technology over the years, and we continue to stay on the cutting edge of technology. What would be shameful would be a poor adoption scale. You get the best tools, but you have the poorest executors of those tools. You might as well not have tools. And what we try really hard, not just from an onboarding of new hires, of attracting millennials who are already technology savvy, most of them, and getting them tuned into our environment and our tech tools. But what about the other half, where people that have been here 20, 30, 40 years, how do we keep them at being successful without intimidating or bogging them down with new processes and new tools? So it's a lot of science, but also a lot of art, and that's sort of my day-to-day approach to being at this company.
That's great to hear. I think it was Steve Jobs that said that it's the psychology before the technology. I mean, even the way that they built their brand, I think it was mostly the experience and the benefits of using the technology than the technology itself. So that's great to hear. So, Alex, what does it look like for you? Are you coaching people through a lot of adoptions of technology, or are you doing a lot of transactional teaching? I mean, it's got to be a challenge today to lead with all the new tools and distractions of what should we be on, this platform or that platform, or and then our internal stuff. Are you spending a lot of time coaching people through processes?
Yeah, so coaching is a big part. Training is also a big part of my department. The training department for Drucker and Falk actually reports to IT as well, because we obviously identified that the two teams need to work very closely. But I think the main focus from my day-to-day activities is alignment. So, everybody says, we're at this golden age of technology until 20 years later, and it's another golden age. But if anybody, realizes technology today is great, but it's also highly redundant. I could Skype on my phone, I could Skype on my iPad, I can Skype on my computer, or I could not Skype at all and pick up the phone. So it's just, become very, very noisy. So the best adopters of technology today are the ones that are disciplined to say, I need to be successful at 5 types of activities in my job, and pick the best tools that will supplement and enhance those 5 activities, and have the discipline to stick to it, and have the company process, have the training program to support it, and the continual tracking metrics to ensure that we're still as effective as we need to be, if not continually better. I think alignment is, our main focus today, just so we're not caught in, what is the latest flavor du jour for technology, or get drowned in all that noise.
Yeah, that's a good point. So David and Wendy and Alex, I just want to take this time to just congratulate you again on a successful year and getting lift from not only understanding internally what's great about the organization, but also opportunities where you can continue to add value. And I love the fact that you're implementing actual policy and decisions and tools to communicate and enhance the experience for the employee and ultimately the resident, and then even more so the investor owner that count on you to oversee this process. So again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. And I encourage you again to just reach out and with those employees that you're recognizing all over the country, we'd love to hear from you on who those people are. We'd love to shout from the rooftop those that are winning in multifamily. So again, thank you for taking the time and being with us here today.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed the Multifamily Leadership Podcast. For show notes and other resources, visit multifamilyleadership.com.